Today's video is brought to you by Assiniboine Downs Gaming and Event Center. Be sure to tune into this channel live Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern for Monday Night Lights, hosted by Trust the Profits.
It's time to see the Kentucky Derby winner again, guys. The Grade 1 Haskell is this Saturday, and it features a tremendous field of 8 horses. You got horses like Mage, Arabian Night, and Tapit Trace, as well as some intriguing new faces. And while I'll be the first to say this is a race where you can pretty much throw Pedigree out the window for most of these horses, but I still thought it would be fun to take a look at the field and give my take on each from both a pedigree and a handicapping perspective on this episode of the Pedigree Puzzle. So here is the field for the Haskell Stakes. We have from inside out, we have Go Rocket Ride, Awesome Strong, Salute the Stars, Mage, Tapit Trace, How Great Is Nate, Extra Anejo, and Arabian Night, who is the morning line favorite at 5-2. And this sure looks like it's going to be an intriguing race. We'll go ahead and just go horse by horse through the field, starting with Go Rocket Ride. He is a son of Candy Ride out of the Uncle Mo mare Beyond Grace. He's 2 for 3 lifetime and was last seen winning the Affirmed Stakes at Santa Anita on June 4th. He actually got a solid little 90 buyer for that race, but if you go back to his San Felipe when he was second to Practical Move, he got a 96 that day. So he looks like a horse who on his day can absolutely fit with these, and he'll need a step forward, but should be a pace factor in here, I would think. He probably can't get to the front, but I don't think he will let horses like Arabian Night and Extra Anejo just waltz up there either. He was a $350,000 Fasig-Tipton July Select yearling, and although his dam was an 0 for 3 maiden, she was a full sister to a stakes-placed winner named Mighty Mo. His third dam Golden Petal produced a stakes winner and 4 stakes-placed winners, so there is some decent black type in there. And this Candy Ride Uncle Mo cross, though it hasn't been tried much, has also produced an additional stakes winner in Hold Tight. That 2 stakes winners from just 7 starters is 28.6% stakes winners for that cross. The buyers seem to make him a player here, but this is certainly a class test. And speaking of class test, the 2 is Awesome Strong, Florida bred. He was an absolute standout last year as a 2-year-old and helped his sire's first crop break the top 15 stallions in Florida by earnings with far fewer starters than his competitors with multiple crops on the ground. And though Awesome Slee was a sprinter, his offspring have been just fine routing. And if you look here, he has Pleasant Tap on the bottom, and that extra 16th of a mile shouldn't be an issue for Awesome Strong. He's actually a half brother to a stakes winner going 9 furlongs. And while, of course, getting the distance is one thing, but getting the distance against this group of horses is really the question. His first start of the year was a pretty dull effort in an allowance optional claimer at Delaware Park. He was supposed to win that day, but ended up being beaten over 5 lengths when finishing 5th. He might be close early, potentially, coming in here with sprint speed, but it's tough to imagine him sticking around late. He is a horse, though, that I'm interested in overall as just moving forward in those Florida bred races in particular. I could see him being a really nice Florida type, state bred type horse, and even potentially a stallion if he can get some more black type as a 3-year-old or 4-year-old. He actually comes from the same female family very distantly. If you look at the bottom there, Foggy Note is the tail female ancestor of Tapit, among others. So there's some pedigree here for sure, but I don't think that the Haskell is really going to be his spot. Next, we have Salute the Stars. This Brad Cox trainee has won 3 straight, including the Pegasus Stakes at Monmouth in the local prep for this. He steadied at the start and was ranked early in that race, but got himself together and still had enough finish to run down Kingsbarns. His dam was 0 for 3 in her career, but is a half-sister to Grade 1 winner Carpe Diem and graded stakes winner Pharrell. So there's definitely pedigree here. Salute the Stars is one of 4 stakes winners in 32 starters, bred on that Candy Ride Malibu Moon Cross, which is 12.5% stakes winners from starters. And one of the most interesting things about this pedigree is that he is from the Manny Gray branch of family 23B. And Candy Ride has produced 2 grade 1 winners, Twirling Candy and Ollie's Candy, from that Manny Gray branch of the family. It's a very distant branch. Manny Gray was a 19th century horse. But this is still that same mitochondrial DNA, which is passed on from mother to daughter and does not change in the frame that we're looking at here. So mitochondria, you might remember from high school biology, is the powerhouse of the cell. It's the part of the cell that converts food into energy, and it's pretty easy to determine why that might be important in a racehorse. And we know that nuclear DNA, the DNA you get from both parents, interacts with mitochondrial DNA and can be interact in a beneficial way. And what's interesting here is that since Candy Ride has done well with this mitochondrial family, is that clearly there's some nuclear DNA here that works with that. And that mitochondrial family is also the same as Candy Ride's family 13C, as well as the families of his sire, Ride the Rails, and grandsire, Crypto Clearance. All of these are really nice horses. They clearly have nuclear DNA that matches well with their mitochondrial DNA, and potentially are passing on that to other horses who share that mitochondrial family. So I thought that was really interesting here. Having said that, despite a very solid pedigree, this is definitely a step up. He has improved in his last 2 starts since switching to Brad Cox and getting on the dirt. And that 93 Beyer here in last out puts him in the mix here as long as he can keep stepping up. I also like that he already has a win going 1 mile and an 1/8. I think that this is a really interesting horse in this spot. Number 4, Mage. I did an entire video on Mage's pedigree, so I will probably just very briefly touch on it. Check out the description for a link to my pedigree puzzle on Mage. This is his first start back since a 3rd place effort in the Preakness, and I had to take a minute. There's been a whole lot of bluster on social media about him using the Haskell as a prep, and people are apparently getting angry about that, as if that's some sort of disrespect to the Haskell. And I just want to say, no, it's not. I think we should be applauding the fact that we're actually going to see the Kentucky Derby winner in another grade 1 prior to the Travers. It's horse racing. We're racing racehorses, and I don't understand why people are unhappy that they're racing their horse. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So if you are one of the people who think that running in the Haskell as a Travers prep is disrespectful and he shouldn't be here, I'd love to, please let me know what you would have preferred to see. Would you have wanted him to train up to the race? Would you have wanted him to run in the Jim Dandy and have a shorter break between races? I saw multiple people on Twitter talking about it, and I just thought it was very strange. You know, before trainer stats and win percentage became the be-all, end-all for trainers, horses raced into form. I mean, there are entire sections in handicapping books about handicapping form cycles. And I mean, realistically, the Travers is a prep for the Breeders' Cup Classic. Every race is a prep for the ultimate goal for the next race, you know, and for a horse like this, that's probably the Breeders' Cup. Once they won the Derby, they thought, okay, we want the Travers and we want the Breeders' Cup. How do we get there and fill in the gaps? And yeah, I just think that the idea of horses using a grade 1 as a prep being bad is very strange. And I'm just baffled by it. So I had to bring that up because I just don't understand why people are saying that running the Kentucky Derby winner before the Travers is a bad thing, actually. I just thought that was a very strange take. And I would love if someone could explain to me why multiple people feel this way. Having said that, even if their ultimate goal is the next race, I think Mage figures to run really big in here. He's absolutely the class of the field. And if anything, maybe we'll get a square price on him because people are overreacting to the use of the word prep. It's his first race back. So, and again, the Travers is their ultimate goal. So he's not going to be 100% cranked for this race. And the question is, does he need to be? And the answer is probably yes, but maybe he's just getting better. You know, it's been a few months since we've seen him. We don't really know. And he'll certainly, I think, get the pace set up he wants in here. not be forced to be as close to the pace as he was in the Preakness, and you can trust him. He'll be coming late. He's going to put in his run. I would be shocked if he didn't hit the board in here. So I like Mage. Quick touch on his pedigree, good magic, big brown. The most interesting part of his pedigree, sort of going back to that mitochondrial DNA stuff we were talking about before, is that Puka and Big Brown come from the same mitochondrial haplotype, the same mitochondrial family. They're genetically identical bottom lines. And Big Brown himself was also bred on that pattern because his dam sire, Nureyev, was from that same mitochondrial family. So to me, that's one of the most fun facts, interesting things about Mage's pedigree, and something that I think you see a lot of good horses with that pedigree. A Fleet Alex comes to mind for this specific pattern of this same female family. But yeah, I'm very excited to see the Kentucky Derby winner run again in this race prior to the Traverse. Next is Tapit Trace. This is another horse that I've talked about before on the channel prior to the Belmont. So again, check the link in the description for my Belmont Stakes preview. And I will try not to repeat myself too much here. Tapit Trace put in a respectable effort in the Belmont. He did pretty much exactly what everyone thought he would. He came grinding home, sat a little bit closer to the pace than he had in the Derby for sure. But yeah, he's a hard horse for me to trust in here personally. I think he's a really talented animal, but I'm not sure that he's going to really get, I don't know. I mean, I think there's going to be a good pace setup in here, but I don't know that a grinder in the Haskell is really what you want. He would need the pace to absolutely collapse, and I think there's enough class among the pace setters that while they'll be getting tired late, I don't think they're going to completely back up. You know, I don't think a horse like Arabian Night is going to completely quit just because he'll probably get a little bit of pace pressure. He might, and that's, you know, when I get to Arabian Night, we'll talk about that a little bit. But Tapit Trace, he's one I think he will put in his run. He always, except for that Derby where he got a bad trip, and aside from that, he always runs his race. The Belmont was a lifetime high buyer of 100, but the question there for me is, was that the distance or was that him getting better? I think that this is a horse, even though he won the Bluegrass in 1 1/8, I do think he wants 1.25 miles or longer to be at his most effective, because he's just that one who keeps on coming with the distance. He's not a closer with acceleration, the way Mage kind of has a bit of a turn of foot. Tapit Trace is a grinder. He's that big lumbering. He takes some time to get rolling, but when he does, he comes hard. And of course, you know, he got a 99 in the Bluegrass, so it's not as if he can't win at the distance. And maybe I'm just overcomplicating things here, but Mage and Arabian Night and even some of the others in here, I think, are going to be tougher than Verifying, who, you know, was a recent winner of the Indiana Derby, but hasn't proven to be on par with the best of this crop yet. And Tapit Trace had to work hard to get by Verifying that day. You definitely can't leave him out of vertical exotics. He's a horse you can know he's going to come with his run, but I just have a hard time thinking of him as a Haskell horse. Again, I'm not going to repeat myself too much on his pedigree. He's by Tapit out of a Dunkirk mare. Dunkirk was second in the Belmont Stakes. And his dam is from the immediate female family and bred very similarly to Mission Impassable, who was a nice 3-year-old back in his day. That Tapit Unbridled Song cross has produced the likes of Unique Bella, among others. So it's a cross that can work, and it's a cross that can give you a little bit of speed, but Tapit Trace does not seem to be an example of that. Next is How Great is Nate? He's probably perhaps best known for losing his rider in the Gotham, but he started his career off with 4 straight wins at Delaware Park and Parks, and was most recently 3rd behind Salute the Stars in the local prep here after winning the Long Branch by a head at this track 2 starts back. So he has experience here. You know he likes the track. He's another one who's been tactical in the past, but will be trying 1 1/8 for the first time. And I'm not sure you can really trust him in here. I'm not sure that the distance does him any favors, and I'm not sure that he's quite great enough for this field. His dam was a sprinter who tired in both of her tries going more than 1 mile, and Offspring of Spitester can go a little longer, but tend to do better at sprint distances with an average winning distance of 6.29. He's one of 6 stakes winners from 30 starters bred on that Spitestown Tapit cross. including Grade 1 winning sprinter Lexingtonian. So I don't think that in this case, the distance really helps him out any. And he's a really nice gelding, but I'm not sure that I think this group might be a bit too tough. He's a little bit of an overachiever, and it's great for them to be able to give this a shot, but I'm not sure that he's a win contender in here. The 7, Extra Anejo. It was a huge debut winner, won by 9.5 lengths in that Keeneland Maiden special weight, and came back as a 3-year-old about 6 months later to finish second in his first start as a sophomore. But he returned with a vengeance last month to win a non-winners of one other than at Ellis by 6.5 lengths. So they thought he was a potential Derby horse after that maiden win, but it just got derailed, and he's coming back now and certainly looks like he has a lot of room to keep growing in this spot. He was a 1.35 million Keeneland September yearling, and his dam was a really nice horse. She broke her maiden going 10 furlongs, so the 9 furlong distance shouldn't be an issue here. He's another horse who will likely be tactically positioned, and based on his time form speed figures, he could even press Arabian Night if he really wanted to. And personally, I'd really like to see someone try and go with that horse. Certainly, Steve Asmussen knows how to win this race. He did so in 2009 with Rachel Alexandra. And if Extra Anejo comes out here and improves, it certainly wouldn't be a shock to see him get the job done. He doesn't need the lead, so I think that he'll probably end up being able to sit just off of Arabian Night, who is your morning line favorite. He's the most lightly raced horse in the field, but he sure has looked special in those efforts, winning by a combined 12 3/4 lengths and having never been headed. And that is the one question here is, can he take the pace pressure? In both of his wins, he's just been so much better, so much faster than the competition that nobody's ever really been close to him. There was Frosted Departure did try and go with him in the Southwest, but he pretty handily dismissed him. And he hasn't ever had to look another horse in the eye. So that'll be interesting to see if a horse like Extra Anejo tries to put pressure on him. I'm not sure they can, because we haven't seen the bottom of this horse yet. But I guess we'll see. The outside draw certainly seems perfect for him. He's the speed of the speed. He'll be able to drop over on the field. And 1 1/8 should be no issue for him. He was a $2.3 million 2-year-old in training, so they certainly thought he was something special after that breeze he put in. And he has a really nice pedigree. I know that you might be saying astrology. I haven't heard of him since like the 2011 Preakness. Is he really a good broodmare sire? And to me, yes. He's bred on the same AP Indy Quiet American cross as Bernardini, who is renowned as a broodmare sire, even if you don't know a whole lot about pedigree. And what's interesting about astrology is that female side of his family. So Quiet American is inbred to his 3rd dam, Sakio, who is also the 3rd dam of Quiet American's sire, Fabiano. And Sakio's grand dam was a mare named Hostility, who is actually the 7th dam of astrology. So you're continuing that line breeding pattern of bringing this family back on itself. And again, reinforcing that mitochondrial line that we've already talked about a little bit in this video. His dam finished 4th in her only start, but was a half to 2 pretty nice graded stakes placed runners, Kinsley Kisses and Spooky Woods. And Arabian Night has certainly been prepping for this race well. He's been putting in a bunch of 6 and 7 furlong works, just like clockwork at Santa Anita. And Baffert is the king of this race with 9 wins. He's actually from the same branch of Family 23B as Salute the Stars, going back to that mare Manny Gray, who most famously was the dam of legendary Hall of Famer Domino. And the Uncle Mo AP Indy Cross is very potent, produces 8.3% stakes winners from a nice sample size of 385 starters, including your Grade 1 winners Vequist, Mo Donegal, Motown, and Gretzky the Great. So overall, Arabian Night's the horse to beat. He's the morning line favorite. He deserves to be. That said, this group is tougher than anything he's faced so far. He had Red Route 1 and Frosted Departure chasing him in the Southwest Stakes, but never really felt Red Route 1, and Frosted Departure is nowhere near, I believe, in my opinion, isn't on the level of horses like Tapit Trace and Mage and probably even Extra Anejo, who he's going to have to deal with in here. There does look to be other pace factors on paper, but will they really want to compromise their finish by trying to go out there and press a horse who just rolls on the front end the way Arabian Night does? So this is a really tough race to me. I don't think it's nearly as simple as the top three choices on the morning line. I think, I don't have a strong opinion in this race, which honestly tends to be when I'm right a lot of times. But I do think that, Arabian Night could be a monster. He could be another just freak for Baffert, sort of like the horse behind me. But I'm always wary of a horse who's had everything his own way jump into the deep end for the first time. To me, this is the race where we're going to find out if we can trust Arabian Night, if he's as good as all the hype says he is. And as the favorite, I'm just not sure I want him here. There's questions about the two favorites. There's questions about Mage, is if he can he win if he's not 100% cranked. If he does, he absolutely cements himself as the division leader and the favorite for the Traverse, I would think, unless, maybe if Forte goes out and wins the Jim Dandy by 12, it's a little close. But this will certainly be a really interesting race to see how Mage see where he fits against a horse like Arabian Night. And I mean, the question here is, sometimes these Baffert speedballs, they I call them origami speed, because they fold when they're pressured. You have, is Arabian Night, is he an American Pharaoh who took pressure on the lead and kept going? Or is he a Bayern who spits the bit when he gets headed? And there are good signs in his favor that he'll take pressure. In that Southwest, he was in front, but he was so relaxed the whole way around. He was not remotely bothered. Even when Frosted Departure tried to go with him, he didn't care. He just kind of flicked his ears and kept going. So, our horses like Extra Anejo, Awesome Strong, Go Rocket Ride, really even going to be able to press him early? That's another question. And there's a good chance he wins. He's probably the most likely winner in this race. But even if it makes me look stupid, I'm going to try and beat him. I'm hoping there's enough speed in here to make him work in a way that he hasn't needed to in his first two starts. And that combined with the layoff, even though, with those 6 and 7 furlong works, Baffert's going to have him fit in here. Baffert wants to win the Haskell and get his 10th Haskell win. But I'm just going to take a shot here. I think that both Extra Anejo and Salute the Stars are interesting in here at decent odds, but I'm wondering if Extra Anejo might be too close to Arabian Night early and that could compromise his chances. And so since I don't really have a strong opinion, I could make a case for more than half the field in here. I'm going to look for value in this spot, and I'll put my trust in Brad Cox getting 3 consecutive Haskell winners and go with Salute the Stars on top. I think he presents the best value and the best opportunity for improvement here. I also think that he will get that perfect stalking trip in behind the first flight of horses and maybe get the first jump on horses like Mage and Tapit Trace coming from further back. So that I don't think Brad Cox is bringing him in here just to pick up a paycheck. I think that he wouldn't be here if Cox didn't think he could win. And he certainly has been an improved horse since switching to the dirt and switching barns. So that would be my top pick for this race. Of course, make sure you form your own opinions here, because I do not have a strong one. And that's why I'm going with this horse. I just think that he's going to you're going to get a good price. And, I'm going to cross the board type better. So if he runs second, I'll be happy. You could probably, use him in exactas with Arabian Night and Mage, or whoever else you happen to like in here. But I think that he's a horse that you can't overlook in this spot for sure. So thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful Haskell weekend. Have a great time. Del Mar's opening weekend is coming. I'm actually going to be doing a video that will drop either later tonight or tomorrow about a fascinating maiden special weight race we have on that card on Saturday. And of course, it's still Saratoga season. So make sure you check out all of the great content we have on the channel. Some much more astute handicappers than I have gone over this Haskell race. So take a look at what people like Mike and the Formula have going on. And I will see you next time. Thank you. Tapit Unbridled Songcross is responsible for horses such as Unrivaled Belle, or her daughter.